Beyond the playful banter, today we're tackling one of the most profound and transformative stories in human history. How a man born into unimaginable luxury became the Buddha, the awakened one. His journey isn't just an ancient tale. It's a radical blueprint for anyone seeking true happiness and freedom in a world often consumed by superficiality. As the Buddha himself famously said, "The mind is everything, what you think, you become." This isn't just philosophy, it's a direct invitation to sculpt your own reality. So, grab a cushion, cross your legs if you wish, and let's dive into the extraordinary life of Siddhartha Gautama and the mind-blowing events that transformed him from a sheltered, unaware prince into a spiritual superhero, whose insights continue to illuminate millions of lives even today. This is the origin story of a revolution, not of swords and conquests, but of the mind, a revolution that you, too, can join. And at its heart lies a radical, often misunderstood, concept: the nature of the self, or rather, the not-self. Chapter 1. The Golden Prison and the Seed of Discontent. Our story kicks off in Lumbini, Nepal, nestled in the foothills of the Himalayas. Around the 5th or 6th century BCE. This was over 2.500 years ago. A time of burgeoning spiritual inquiry across India, where many seekers were exploring paths to truth. Here, Prince Siddhartha Gautama was born into a life of unimaginable privilege, destined for greatness, as prophesied by ancient seers. His doting dad, King Suddhodana, ruler of the Shakya clan, was absolutely consumed by both paternal love and dynastic ambition. Years before Siddhartha's birth, the king was visited by sages, wise men who told him his son would either grow up to be a mighty universal ruler, a Chakravartin, destined to conquer and unify lands, or a revered holy man, a spiritual mendicant who would renounce the world. Of course, Siddhartha's father desperately wanted his son to follow in his footsteps and secure the lineage as a great king. So, when Siddhartha was born in 567 BCE, his father made a momentous, albeit ultimately futile, decision. He decreed that his son must be meticulously shielded from all forms of suffering. The king's reasoning was simple, yet flawed. If Siddhartha never saw bad things, the harsh realities of aging, illness, poverty, and death, he wouldn't know they existed. If he never knew of suffering, he wouldn't feel the urge to alleviate it. And thus, he wouldn't want to become a holy man and renounce his royal duties. Thus, Siddhartha's entire existence was meticulously bubble-wrapped. He grew up surrounded by every comfort and privilege money could buy. The palace was not just a home, it was his entire world. A paradise designed for unending sensory delight. He had countless toys, the finest silks, and the best education from private tutors. He was surrounded by beautiful gardens, exotic birds, and expensive treasures. Servants attended to his every whim, bringing him food, cleaning up after him, and anticipating his needs. When not learning from private tutors, he spent his days swimming in luxurious pools, practicing archery and swordsmanship with skill, and riding magnificent horses. The palace was so massive, so self-contained, that he never once had to leave its opulent confines. When he became a young man, he married a beautiful and virtuous woman named Gopa, also known as Yashodhara in some texts. And they had a beloved son named Rahula. To all outward appearances, Siddhartha seemed to have it all: the perfect life, the perfect family, the perfect future. Yet, despite this outwardly perfect existence, deep within his heart, Siddhartha felt an inexplicable, persistent sense of disquiet and restlessness. The endless cycle of pleasures, though seemingly fulfilling, left him with a gnawing emptiness. He found himself losing interest in the very luxuries that defined his world. The joy of fine clothes, the excitement of new toys, the fleeting pleasure of entertainment, it all seemed hollow, failing to provide the lasting happiness his soul yearned for. This growing unease, this inherent unsatisfactoriness even in comfort, was his first true experience of dukkha, the suffering that arises from the very nature of conditioned existence, sankhara dukkha. It was the silent call of truth. Buddhist insight. This initial segment profoundly illustrates the first noble truth, dukkha. Even in supreme pleasure, suffering, specifically sankhara dukkha, exists due to the inherent impermanence and unsatisfactoriness of all compounded phenomena. The king's efforts, driven by avidya, ignorance, and tanha, craving for his son's worldly success, inadvertently created a spiritual void for Siddhartha. Siddhartha's burgeoning restlessness, despite his luxurious life, represents the awakening of prajna, wisdom, a natural yearning for ultimate truth that cannot be suppressed by external conditions. This sets the stage for his eventual renunciation, nekkhamma, not as a rejection of life, but of the attachments that bind one to suffering. Chapter 2. The Four Sights, a reality check of epic proportions. And boy, did he get a reality check. At the ripe old age of 29, an age often associated with profound self-reflection, Siddhartha's carefully constructed bubble was about to burst. Despite his father's strict decrees, an unshakable curiosity stirred within him, prompting him to ask his father to let him go on a chariot ride to see the city outside the palace walls. The king, hesitant but unable to deny his son's request, agreed, but gave strict orders to the charioteer: stay on the richer, cleaner parts of the city, close to the palace, to avoid letting Siddhartha see people who are poor or suffering. Siddhartha set out in the chariot with his trusted driver, Channa. Before long, despite the king's meticulous planning, the inherent nature of existence had its own lessons to teach. They saw an old man slowly hobbling along the road, bent with age, his skin wrinkled, teeth missing, and body frail. This vision starkly confronted Siddhartha with the reality of aging, the inevitable decay of youth and strength, hara dukkha. He had never seen such a person. What is wrong with him? He asked the driver. Bewildered, his driver, compelled by a force beyond the king's command, perhaps divine intervention, or simply the weight of truth, replied, he is very old. His body has grown weak with age. You too will grow old someday. All people do. Siddhartha was deeply disturbed, but asked him to drive on. Later in the ride, they saw a sick man lying by the side of the road. He was groaning, his body ravaged by disease, looking very unhappy. Again, Siddhartha asked what was wrong. His driver replied, he is sick with a terrible disease. Everyone gets sick sometimes. Someday, you will get sick too. Siddhartha felt terrible seeing this man suffering, a profound empathy stirring within him. This revealed the universal vulnerability to illness and physical pain, vyadi dukkha. On their way back to the palace, they came across a funeral procession. People were crying and moaning, their grief raw and palpable. For a third time, Siddhartha asked his driver what was happening. Again, Channa, unable to lie, replied, someone has died, and these people are his friends and family. They're mourning for him. All people die, Prince. This directly confronted him with the ultimate impermanence and the finality of death, marana dukkha. These three sights, of old age, sickness, and death, known as the three divine messengers, irrevocably pierced through Siddhartha's carefully constructed world. His innocent observation led to a profound, soul-shattering realization. These things happen to everyone. To my father, my mother, my wife, my son, and even to me. Life is just suffering. This wasn't merely an intellectual observation. It was a visceral understanding of the first noble truth, dukkha, the pervasive nature of suffering in existence. He understood that all the treasure in the palace, all the servants waiting on him, all the beautiful things surrounding him, could not prevent him or anyone else from these sad realities. Then, there was a fourth, equally crucial, sight. On his return journey, he encountered a serene ascetic, a wandering holy man, sitting peacefully by the side of the road, begging for alms. He had no possessions, no worldly ties, yet he radiated an extraordinary sense of calm and contentment that starkly contrasted with the anguish Siddhartha had just witnessed, hinting at a possible path to transcend it all. This was the glimmer of nirodha, the cessation of suffering. Faced with these undeniable truths, Siddhartha realized he could no longer live an easy, ignorant life in the palace. He wanted to find a way to help people overcome suffering. This profound realization, fueled by immense karuna, compassion, for all beings, sealed his destiny. His path lay beyond the gilded cage. Buddhist insight. The four sights are the direct catalysts for Siddhartha's great renunciation, mahabaniskramana. They underscore the universality of dukkha, suffering, in its various forms. Dukkha dukkha, the suffering of pain itself. Viparinama dukkha, the suffering of change. and Sankhara dukkha, the pervasive unsatisfactoriness of conditioned existence. His recognition that all beings are subject to these sufferings ignites his boundless compassion. The sight of the serene monk offers a glimpse of Nirodha and the potential for liberation. Which is the third noble truth? Siddhartha's decision to leave his family and kingdom, often seen as a radical act, is viewed in Buddhism as an act of immense compassion, a commitment to find the ultimate solution for everyone's suffering, requiring him to first detach from the very things that bind one to suffering. This act of nekkhamma, renunciation, marks the beginning of his sincere spiritual quest, leading him onto the noble eightfold path, particularly right intention, samma sankappa. Chapter 3. The Path of Extremes, Seeking Beyond and the Middle Way's First Glimmer. Having renounced his worldly life and the illusion of worldly pleasures, Siddhartha embarked on an arduous and solitary quest for truth. He cut his long princely hair, a symbolic shedding of his former identity, and lived as an ascetic, someone who chooses a life of poverty and simplicity, often involving severe self-denial. For years, he dedicated himself to rigorous spiritual practice and deep introspection. He sought out the most renowned spiritual teachers and holy men of his time, studying meditation with them and engaging in deep discussions about the problem of suffering. First, he studied with Alara Kalama, a master of meditation who taught him how to reach deep states of concentration, known as the sphere of nothingness. Siddhartha, with his extraordinary intellectual brilliance and intense focus, mastered this in record time. But even in these profound meditative states, he realized that true, ultimate freedom from suffering still eluded him. A subtle longing, a sense of incompleteness, remained. Next, he apprenticed with Uddaka Ramaputta, who guided him to an even more refined, almost indescribable, level of meditation called the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception. This was a state of such subtlety, a consciousness so refined, that it was hard to even articulate. Yet, despite mastering these incredibly advanced techniques and achieving what others considered the pinnacle of spiritual achievement, Siddhartha still felt a gnawing sense that he had not reached the absolute end of the path, the true cessation of suffering. Frustrated but undeterred by the limitations of these established paths, Siddhartha left these teachers and set out on his own, embracing extreme asceticism, pushing himself to the brink of starvation and subjecting his body to intense physical hardships. He believed that by conquering the physical, by denying every bodily urge, he could somehow purify his spirit and attain enlightenment, as he would later teach. To enjoy good health, to bring true happiness to one's family, to bring peace to all, one must first discipline and control one's own mind. But his path was physically self-destructive. He pushed himself to the very edge of human endurance, consuming very little food, barely sustaining himself with a few seeds and berries that the wind blew into his lap. He lost a tremendous amount of weight, becoming skeletal, a mere framework of bone and sinew. His body was covered in dirt, making him look like a living skeleton. 6 long, grueling years passed in this state of extreme deprivation. At his lowest point, Siddhartha was a mere shadow of his former self. Completely depleted, he had pushed himself to the very edge of human endurance. Yet the ultimate answers he sought still eluded him. He realized, I still do not know the way to put an end to suffering. I made the mistake of punishing my body, and I wasted so much time. This clearly doesn't work, it won't make one happier. It was in this moment of utter desolation, perched on the precipice of death, that a pivotal memory from his childhood surfaced, a memory of naturally falling into a state of deep, effortless meditation under an apple tree, a state of profound peace and clarity, far removed from any forceful striving. As he recalled the peace and clarity he had experienced then, a profound realization dawned on him. The path to enlightenment was not to be found in the extremes, neither the indulgence of his princely life, kamasukhalakanuyoga, the pursuit of sensual pleasures, nor the harsh deprivation of asceticism, attakilamathanuyoga, the path of painful struggle. It lay instead in the middle way, majjhima patipada, a balanced approach that avoided both excess and self-inflicted torment. Recognizing the body as a vehicle for spiritual practice, not an enemy to be tormented. With this newfound understanding, Siddhartha knew he had to regain his strength. He decided to take more nourishment. accepting an offering of milk rice from a village girl named Sujata. This simple act restored his physical and mental balance. The 5 ascetics who had accompanied him, however, saw this as a sign of his failure and abandoned him, believing he had given up his quest. But Siddhartha was not deterred. His strength returned, and with it, renewed clarity and purpose. He mustered his last ounce of strength and set out to find a quiet, conducive place to meditate, determined to give his quest for ultimate truth one final, decisive chance. He crossed the Niranjana river and headed towards the very tree that would become the tree of enlightenment, the Bodhi tree. Buddhist insight. Siddhartha's rigorous ascetic period demonstrates his unparalleled virya, right effort, and his exploration of all available spiritual methodologies. However, his eventual disillusionment with both extreme indulgence and extreme asceticism is crucial. This leads him to the discovery of the middle path, a core tenet of Buddhism. This path advocates for moderation and balance, recognizing that both extremes hinder the mind's clarity and lead to suffering. His remembrance of the childhood meditation highlights the importance of effortless awareness and the understanding that true insight arises not from force, but from a balanced, receptive state of mind. Sujata's offering is pivotal, restoring his health and enabling his final push towards enlightenment. Chapter 4. The Bodhi Tree, the Ultimate Battle and the Dawn of Enlightenment. Siddhartha sat under the majestic fig tree, now revered as the Bodhi tree, tree of awakening. Here, he made an unwavering vow. He would not arise from this position. He would not break his meditation until he had achieved his ultimate goal, complete and perfect enlightenment. The final cessation of all suffering. This was his final, ultimate commitment, born from years of relentless, purified seeking. As Siddhartha delved deeper into his meditation, pushing the very boundaries of his consciousness, he was confronted by Mara, the evil one, the lord of illusion and temptation. Mara is not just a mythical demon, he is the profound symbolic representation of all the defilements, distractions, and inner obstacles that plague the human mind, are greed, lobha, hatred, dosa, ignorance, moha, jealousy, doubt, and all the other poisons that bring unhappiness, grief, and bind us inextricably to the cycle of samsara, birth, death, and rebirth. His realm is the human mind entangled in suffering, his power sustained by our continued ignorance. Mara, terrified and enraged by the prospect of Siddhartha's awakening, summoned his vast army of demonic sons and alluring daughters, the myriad manifestations of human defilements and temptations. They launched their full assault, terrifying storms, conjuring bolts of lightning, unleashing hideous, fearful shapes, and sending seductive dancers, all hoping to shake his resolve and drive him from his seat. But beneath the protective branches of the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha remained utterly calm, shielded by the immense force of his profound samadhi, right concentration, and brilliant vipassana, right mindfulness, insight. His meditation was as firm as a mighty stone, absolutely unshakable, undisturbed by any external chaos or internal agitation. He even deflected arrows shot at him, which miraculously turned into lotus petals and fell at his feet. When fear and violence failed, Mara, desperate, resorted to the insidious poison of doubt. He appeared as a wise old man, directly confronting Siddhartha. "You have just wasted your life. Show me one witness who will swear that you are worthy of succeeding." This aimed to sow profound doubt, visakicha, the ultimate mental obstacle, questioning his worthiness and his path. But these words did not deter Siddhartha. He remained utterly silent, his mind perfectly still. Then, in a moment of ultimate triumph over ego and doubt, he lifted his right hand from his lap, reached forward, and gently touched the earth. This simple, yet profoundly powerful, gesture, the Bhumisparsha Mudra, the earth-touching gesture, was his silent, irrefutable reply. It meant that the earth itself was Siddhartha's witness. It signified that for countless lifetimes, his previous existences as a bodhisattva, he had appeared on this earth in various forms, practicing immense generosity, dana, and boundless patience, kshanti, acting lovingly and meditating on the truth, accumulating the immense merit, punya, and wisdom, prajna, that culminated in this very moment. His worthiness was not dependent on Mara's approval, but on the accumulated wholesome karma of eons. Mara was now truly and utterly defeated. Realizing his absolute defeat, his power over Siddhartha, and by extension, over all who follow the path, shattered, he vanished, his voice fading into a mere echo. Siddhartha was now all alone, free from all external and internal disturbances, his mind utterly still, perfectly clear. Gradually, his concentration deepened further, and his understanding grew clearer than any crystal. He realized, with undeniable certainty, that desire, tanha, is the fundamental root cause for all suffering. He understood that the insatiable craving for what we don't have, and the relentless clinging to what we do have, are the fires that fuel the cycle of dukkha. And, profoundly, he realized that once the heart is completely free of desire and hate, it would be filled with boundless love, profound peace, and true happiness. Once Siddhartha gained this perfect, liberating understanding, his face began to glow brightly, emanating an otherworldly radiance. He had become fully enlightened. He was now the Buddha, the enlightened one, the awakened one, the one who knows. He had reached his ultimate goal. With a calm and peaceful smile, he arose from his meditation. When he opened his eyes, he saw the world filled with peace and happiness, a perfect reflection of his own inner state, seeing reality as it truly is, unclouded by illusion. Buddhist insight. The 49 days of meditation under the Bodhi tree represent the culmination of Siddhartha's arduous spiritual journey. Demonstrating viriya, right effort, and samadhi, right concentration. Mara's attacks symbolize internal defilements, kleshas, and the final overcoming of ego. The Bhumisparsha mudra signifies the grounding of his enlightenment in reality, witnessed by the earth itself. The core realization, that desire is the root cause of all suffering, is the second noble truth, samudaya. Its cessation, leading to boundless love, peace, and happiness, is the third noble truth, nirodha. This moment is the ultimate transformation, giving birth to the Buddha as a teacher for the world. Chapter 5. The Dhamma cycle, turning the wheel of truth and building the path. I am filled with happiness. The newly awakened Buddha mused. My mind is free from all darkness and pain. But it was so difficult for me to reach the end of suffering and become a Buddha. I wonder if there is anyone who can understand the truths I have discovered. How could I possibly teach them? Perhaps it is better for me to live the rest of my life in the forest, all alone, and enjoy the happiness of being a Buddha myself. At this brief moment of profound introspection and hesitation, divine beings, devas, recognizing the immense need of suffering humanity, appeared and pleaded with the Buddha. Please do not forget us. We are the suffering beings of the world. Please teach us. The Buddha's boundless compassion, karuna, overcame his initial reluctance to teach such a profound and subtle truth. Of course, he said, I shall teach. However, they will have to help themselves. They have to be a light unto themselves. Initial students in the first sermon, turning the wheel of Dhamma. The Buddha first sought out his former teachers, Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramapada, but with his awakened vision, he saw they had already passed away. So, he turned to the 5 ascetics who had accompanied him during his extreme period. He found them in the deer park near Benares. There, the Buddha delivered his first sermon, known as Turning the Wheel of the Dhamma, Dharmachakra Pravartana Sutta. He began by teaching the middle path as the right way to put an end to all sufferings. He then expounded the 4 noble truths. The noble truth of suffering, dukkha, everyone suffers. And hard things happen. It's part of life. The noble truth of the cause of suffering, samudaya, suffering arises from tanha, craving, attachment. Our desire for more, and our attachment to what we have, fuels discontent. The noble truth of the end of suffering, nirodha, we can overcome suffering by ceasing craving. This leads to nirvana, perfect peace. Desires, blown out. The noble truth of the path to the end of suffering, magga. The way to overcome suffering is by following the noble eightfold path. This means continually improving oneself through kindness, honesty, compassion, and mindful attention to thoughts, meditation. The 5 ascetics were deeply moved and became his first disciples, forming the Sangha, the community of monks. This marked the formal establishment of Buddhism. Main teachings of Buddhism, beyond the Eightfold Path. The ethical framework of Buddhism is also summarized by basic precepts. No killing, ahimsa, respect for all life. No stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, speaking the truth, no intoxicants, avoiding substances that cloud the mind. These morals are necessary to achieve happiness in this world, independent of rewards or punishments in any other realm. Early Buddhism primarily focused on liberation in this life, without elaborate concepts of heaven or hell. The Buddha said his teachings were like a boat, a means that can be used to cross the river of suffering, samsara, and reach enlightenment, nirvana. He did not want his followers to consider his teachings as a burden or an object of rigid attachment once the crossing was complete. The ultimate goal of every Buddhist is enlightenment, nirvana. The term nirvana itself is profoundly symbolic. Ni means negative or absence, and vana means lust or desire. So, nirvana literally means the end or extinction of lust or desire. It signifies supreme realization, a state of profound awakening. Its main feature is freedom from the cycle of life and death. That is why enlightenment is considered absolute happiness or blessing, a state of true, unconditioned freedom. The Buddha emphasized that nirvana can only be experienced directly. It cannot be explained or described in words, as it transcends conventional language and conceptual understanding. In the Western world, we often call it enlightenment or awakening. The concept of enlightenment is similar to moksha, salvation, in Hinduism, freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Buddhists believe that whoever has attained enlightenment is a Buddha, or an arahant in some traditions. They also believe that according to their accumulated deeds and unique circumstances, people can get enlightened instantly, a sudden, profound realization. However, such instances are extremely rare. Mostly, people have to cross uncountable births, diligently cultivating merit and wisdom. To get enlightenment, one needs to follow the path of righteousness, practice meditation, chanting, and cultivate immense sympathy and kindness. It is not easy. It requires unwavering dedication and mental discipline. Buddhist insight. This comprehensive section covers the core tenets of Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths, the diagnostic framework, the Noble Eightfold Path, the practical solution, and the basic precepts, ethical foundation. The raft analogy reinforces that teachings are means, not ends. The definition of nirvana as the cessation of desire is central. The mention of instant enlightenment versus gradual accumulation of merit highlights the diverse paths and the role of karma. Chapter 6. The Buddha's teachings in action, compassion, impermanence, and wisdom applied. The Buddha taught countless people across diverse backgrounds, adapting his profound message to their individual understanding and needs. He frequently used simple stories and parables to convey complex truths, making his teachings accessible and relatable to all. Let's explore his teachings in action. 1. The parable of the mustard seed, learning impermanence through profound loss. A deeply grieving woman, Kisa Gautami, approached the Buddha, pleading for him to bring her dead son back to life. The Buddha agreed, but with a unique condition. She must bring mustard seeds from a house where no one had ever died. Kisa searched tirelessly, but every house shared stories of loss. She returned empty-handed but with a new understanding. Death must come to everyone. She realized. The Buddha affirmed, if you learn the truth of impermanence, you can live and die in happiness. Lesson. This parable teaches anicca, impermanence, and the universality of dukkha. Grief is intensified by clinging to permanence. By accepting impermanence, we reduce suffering, cultivate equanimity, upekkha, and find peace through acceptance. 2. The unaccepted gift, handling anger with wisdom and non-reactivity. An angry man insulted the Buddha. The Buddha listened calmly, then asked, if someone offers you a gift and you decline, to whom does it belong? The man replied, to the giver. The Buddha stated, if you offer me your anger and I do not accept it, then the anger falls back on you. You are the only one who suffers. The man was stunned, realized his error, and sought the path of love. Lesson. This is a masterclass in dealing with anger, dosa, and negativity. We choose our response. By not reacting with anger or taking insults personally, we prevent the second arrow of suffering. This cultivates metta, loving kindness, and upekkha, equanimity. 3. Testing the teachings. The importance of personal experience and wise inquiry. A follower praised the Buddha as the greatest teacher. The Buddha asked if he knew all past, present, or future teachers. When the follower admitted no, the Buddha advised, "It is wrong to say I am the greatest. You should test the teaching yourself to see if they are true or not. Just like testing gold for purity. If you find them helpful, then practice them. Also, do not criticize the teachings of others." Lesson. This emphasizes right view, samadhi, and critical inquiry. Don't accept teachings blindly. Test them through personal experience. This promotes experiential spirituality, discourages dogmatism, and encourages respect for diverse paths and wisdom, prajna, through direct realization. Chapter 9. Angulimala's Redemption, Compassion's Ultimate Triumph. One of the most dramatic and powerful transformations brought about by the Buddha's compassion is the story of Angulimala. A fearsome murderer, he had committed 999 murders, collecting a grotesque necklace of his victims' fingers. Everyone lived in terror of him. One day, the Buddha, despite warnings, walked calmly towards Angulimala's den. Angulimala furiously chased him, but couldn't catch up. "Stop," he bellowed. The Buddha calmly replied, "I have stopped. I am still. It's you who needs to stop. I never harm. You can't stop as long as you harm." When Angulimala realized the Buddha was unafraid and speaking truth, his hardened heart began to crack. The Buddha then gently called him friend and invited him to join the Sangha, offering a real adventure of transformation. Angulimala, overwhelmed by boundless compassion, surrendered. He shed his necklace of fingers, cut his hair, and donned monastic robes. Becoming a monk, he endured insults and abuse from villagers who recognized him. But the Buddha encouraged him. "It is good that you are suffering for your misdeeds in this birth. You are moving ahead. Else, you would have to be born again and again." Through dedication, Angulimala attained arahantship, enlightenment, in that very lifetime. Lesson. This illustrates the immense power of metta, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion, to transform even the most hardened hearts. It proves that karma is not fixed. Even severe negative karma can be purified through genuine remorse and diligent practice, right effort. It emphasizes non-violence, ahimsa, and the potential for redemption and right action, samma kamanta, for anyone, regardless of their past. Chapter 10. Conclusion. The radiance of the Buddha's Dhamma, your path to peace. The Buddha's journey is a profound blueprint for human transformation. It illustrates that suffering, dukkha, is an internal creation, born from our attachment, tanha, and resistance to impermanence, anicca. The Buddha's timeless teachings, from the foundational Four Noble Truths to the practical and liberating Noble Eightfold Path, offer a clear, compassionate, and universally applicable methodology to navigate existence and discover profound, unshakable liberation. Key learnings for your modern life. Embrace the middle way, Majjhima Patipada. Seek balance in all actions, thoughts, and emotions. Avoid extremes. Cultivate mindfulness, sati, be profoundly present. Observe thoughts without entanglement. Practice non-attachment, upekkha, love deeply but without clinging rigidly. Accepting impermanence reduces suffering. Develop compassion, karuna, and loving kindness, metta. Extend profound kindness to yourself and all others. Choose understanding over judgment. Focus your attention, right effort, samadhi. Direct your mental energy towards wholesome growth. External negativity becomes mere background noise. The Buddha's story reminds us that the ultimate source of peace, happiness, and liberation lies not in external circumstances, but within the awakened mind itself. Just like Siddhartha, we all possess the innate potential to transcend our suffering by diligently understanding reality and by cultivating wisdom, boundless compassion, and unwavering mindfulness. Your life is your very own Buddha story. Will you allow yourself to be tossed by the wheel of life? Or will you, like the Buddha, find your serene center, detached from its relentless turning, experiencing true, liberating freedom, right here, right now? The choice is always in your grasp. Thank you for watching, and may you always carry the profound peace and illuminating wisdom of these stories within your heart. Join our growing community by liking this video and subscribing to Buddha Story, where ancient wisdom beautifully meets modern mindfulness. What aspect of the Buddha's journey or these teachings resonates most deeply with your personal experience? Share your reflections and experiences in the comments below. Until our next encounter, may your path be filled with profound peace, deep understanding, and the radiant light of your own awakening.